community, particularly the United States, the European community, as well as Israel. Secondly, in addition to its democratic legitimacy, its electoral legitimacy, Hamas enjoys strong political leverage, particularly in relation to its competitors. Fatah, for instance, which has lost the support of the Palestinian people and which is regarded widely as corrupt and inefficient. That leverage translates as well internally, as Hamas militants are more disciplined and therefore able to deliver on the commitments that their leadership is bound to make. Thirdly, in addition to this electoral legitimacy and this position of force, this situation enables strongly the possibility of having a peace of the strong rather than the peace of the weak, which is what we have had in the 90s with the so-called peace process, a process that failed fundamentally because it did not represent the will of the people on both sides and no one was able to deliver on it. With Hamas now, we have an ability to have at least one party deliver, as well as upcoming elections in Israel. Finally, and more importantly, engagement with Hamas is not merely with the group itself, but beyond, with the objective situation of societal collapse that is fast threatening Palestine and its neighbors. And so, from an initial international attempt at freezing the violence, we have now had some 38 years of occupation, a tripling demography among Palestinians which is unsustainable even under the most peaceful conditions, wide availability of weapons, as well as a constant elevation in the levels of violence. Hamas brings in the prospect of engineering that political economy and that public infrastructure that are needed to mitigate this disaster in the making. And so, yes, sir, I believe that for these reasons, the international community should engage with them constructively and immediately.
Mohamedou, thank you very much indeed. If you endorse Hamas as a partner in talks, you end up endorsing their methods, don't you?
Not necessarily. I think that the current...
How can you get past their methods?
Because it is not a static picture that we have. The current Hamas position is a maximalist.
It may not be static, but it's been pretty constant.
Well, it's evolving, and it's bound to evolve as they enter the political game and as they face the political realities.
So why not wait to see where it gets to?
Well, I think we've seen already in recent weeks some quite constructive statements on the part of that leadership.
Such as?
Such as the possibility of having a long-term truce, which is a coded word for some sort of peace process, which would be more practical, more oriented toward the immediate needs of the Palestinians, and not a make-believe world such as what we've seen in the 90s.
You've also heard a restatement of the view that they will not recognize Israel or renounce violence.
Well, I think
you've heard lots of things.
Again, as was pointed out early, I think that we cannot invisibilize the situation of occupation and the fact that this is a liberation movement gone from armed struggle into the political realm. And this would merely fit into a historical pattern that we've seen with the Algerian FLN, the Irish IRA, and beyond. It is a traditional pattern where these groups enter the political realm, both with...
The IRA entered the political realm when people had decided they didn't want the fighting to go on, not because they were engaged in talks.
Well, the Palestinian people have voted for Hamas because they do believe that this multifaceted leadership, which should not be looked upon as a simple one, has the ability to deliver on that promise. And I think that we should give them, at the very least, the benefit of the doubt.
Hamas's methods have not delivered much for the Palestinian people so far, have they?
They have lived up to the legitimacy that they are calling for that people to present them with.
Mohammedou, thank you very much indeed.
Welcome.
And now let me ask David Frum, please, to speak against the motion.
Thank you very much, Tim. My partner, Professor Mansur, and I begin this debate laboring under certain disadvantages. We are here to speak for a policy that has been endorsed and espoused by the United States government at a time when the United States is not highly popular in this region. We are here to speak against an enemy of the State of Israel at a time when there's not much love lost for Israel in this part of the world. We are here to speak for universal moral values at a time of tension between East and West. But I am not here to speak to you about the United States or about Israel. I'm here to speak to you about yourselves, about your own interests and your own needs. You too are part of the international community, and it is how you respond. In fact, it is what this House does today that is the question before us tonight. And it's a question, I think, of great importance, not just for the United States, though for the United States, not just for Israel, but for you. Let me explain. Hamas speaks for an ideology. It is the ideology of political extremist Islam. The ideology, it is a cognate ideology to the ideology of Al-Qaeda. It's a cognate ideology of the Muslim Brotherhood movements that have broken the peace of Egypt. It is an ideology that threatens this state, this region, and that this very week blew up a mosque in Samarra and attempted to blow up a refinery in Saudi Arabia. This motion asks a question that Hamas itself does not ask. Hamas does not ask to be accepted as a partner of the international community. Hamas speaks for an ideology of war, a war with Israel in its charter, a war that will drag this entire region toward violence and chaos. That is, they are asking for money in the short run. They are asking for legitimation, as Professor Mansur said. They are not asking for partnership. And in your interest, you must stand up for the peace of your societies and against this manifestation of extremist Islam. But there's something else that is at stake for you in this vote tonight. This is, as we meet here, the government of Qatar is hosting a meeting of the Alliance of Civilizations, an attempt to bring people together